happily expressed by the term jeu d'esprit, and which will be noticed in their order in the progress of this work. But what first displayed his transcendent powers and gave the world assurance of the man was his London, a poem in imitation of the third satire of Juvenal, which came out in May this year, and burst forth with a splendor the rays of which will forever encircle his name. Boileau had imitated the same satire with great success, applying it to Paris, but an attentive comparison will satisfy every reader that he is much excelled by the English Juvenal. Oldham had also imitated it and applied it to London, all which performances concur to prove that great cities in every age and in every country will furnish similar topics of satire. Whether Johnson had previously read Oldham's imitation I do not know, but it is not a little remarkable that there is scarcely any coincidence found between the two performances, though upon the very same subject. The only instances are, in describing London as the sink of foreign worthlessness, the common shore where France does all her filth and odor pour, Oldham, the common shore of Paris and of Rome, Johnson, and no calling or profession comes amiss, a needy Monsieur can be what he please, Oldham. All sciences a fasting Monsieur knows, Johnson. The particulars which Oldham has collected, both as exhibiting the horrors of London and of the times contrasted with better days, are different from those of Johnson, and in general well chosen and well expressed. Note, I own it pleased me to find amongst them one trait of the manners of the age in London, in the last century, to shield from the sneer of English ridicule, which was some time ago too common a practice in my native city of Edinburgh. If what I've said can't from the town affright, consider other dangers of the night, when brickbats are from upper stories thrown, and emptied chamber pots come pouring down from garret windows. End of note. There are, in Oldham's imitation, many prosaic verses and bad rhymes, and his poem sets out with a strange inadvertent blunder. Though much concerned to leave my dear old friend, I must, however, his design commend of fixing in the country. It is plain he was not going to leave his friend was going to leave him. A young lady at once corrected this with good critical sagacity to, though much concerned to lose my dear old friend. There is one passage in the original better transfused by Oldham than by Johnson. Nil habet in felix paupertas durius in se, quam quod ridiculos homines facit, which is an exquisite remark on the galling meanness and contempt annexed to poverty. Johnson's imitation is, of all the griefs that harass the distressed, sure the most bitter is a scornful jest. Oldham's, though less elegant, is more just. Nothing in poverty so ill is borne as its exposing men to grinning scorn. Where or in what manner this poem was composed, I am sorry that I neglected to ascertain with precision from Johnson's own authority. He has marked upon his corrected copy of the first edition of it, written in 1738, and as it was published in the month of May in that year, it is evident that much time was not employed in preparing it for the press. The history of its publication I am enabled to give in a very satisfactory manner, and judging from myself and many of my friends, I trust that it will not be uninteresting to my readers. We may be certain, though it is not expressly named in the following letters to Mr. Cave in 1738, that they all relate to it. To Mr. Cave, Castle Street, Wednesday morning, no date, 1738. Sir, when I took the liberty of writing to you a few days ago, I did not expect a repetition of the same pleasure so soon. For a pleasure I shall always think it to converse in any manner with an ingenious and candid man. But having the enclosed poem in my hands to dispose of for the benefit of the author, of whose abilities I shall say nothing since I send you his performance, I believed I could not procure more advantageous terms from any person than from you, who have so much distinguished yourself by your generous encouragement of poetry, and whose judgment of that art nothing but your commendation of my trifle can give me any occasion to call in question. I do not doubt but you will look over this poem with another eye and reward it in a different manner from a mercenary bookseller who counts the lines he is to purchase and considers nothing but the bulk. I cannot help taking notice that besides what the author may hope for on account of his abilities, he has likewise another claim to your regard, as he lies at present under very disadvantageous circumstances of fortune. I beg, therefore, that you will favor me with a letter tomorrow, that I may know what you can afford to allow him, that he may either part with it to you or find out, which I do not expect, some other way more to his satisfaction. I have only to add that as I am sensible I have transcribed it very coarsely, which after having altered it I was obliged to do, I will, if you please to transmit the sheets from the press, correct it for you, and take the trouble of altering any stroke of satire which you may dislike. By exerting on this occasion your usual generosity, you will not only encourage learning and relieve distress, but, though it be in comparison of the other motives of very small account, oblige in a very sensible manner, sir, your very humble servant, Sam Johnson. To Mr. Cave, Monday, No. 6, Castle Street. Sir, I am to return you thanks for the present you were so kind as to send by me, and to entreat that you will be pleased to inform me by the penny post whether you resolve to print the poem. If you please to send it me by the post with a note to Dodsley, I will go and read the lines to him, that we may have his consent to put his name on the title page. As to the printing, if it can be set immediately about, I will be so much the author's friend as not to content myself with mere solicitations in his favor. I propose, if my calculation be near the truth, to engage for the reimbursement of all that you shall lose by an impression of 500, provided, as you very generously propose, that the profit, if any, be set aside for the author's use, excepting the present you made, which, if he be a gainer, it is fit he should repay. I beg that you will let one of your servants write an exact account of the expense of such an impression, and send it with the poem, that I may know what I engage for. I am very sensible, from your generosity on this occasion, of your regard to learning, even in its unhappiest state, and cannot but think such a temper deserving of the gratitude of those who suffer so often from a contrary disposition. I am, sir, your most humble servant, Sam Johnson. To Mr. Cave, no date. Sir, I waited on you to take the copy to Dodsley's. As I remember the number of lines which it contains, it will be no longer than Eugenio with the quotations, which must be subjoined at the bottom of the page. Part of the beauty of the performance, if any beauty be allowed it, consisting in adapting Juvenal's sentiments to modern facts and persons. It will, with those additions, very conveniently make 5 sheets, and since the expense will be no more, I shall contentedly insure it, as I mentioned in my last. If it be not therefore gone to Dodsley's, I beg it may be sent to me by the penny post, that I may have it in the evening. I have composed a Greek epigram to Eliza, and think she ought to be celebrated in as many different languages as Louis le Grand. Pray send me word when you will begin upon the poem, for it is a long way to walk. I would leave my epigram, but have not daylight to transcribe it. I am, sir, yours, etc., Sam Johnson. To Mr. Cave, no date. Sir, I am extremely obliged by your kind letter, and will not fail to attend you tomorrow with Irene, who looks upon you as one of her best friends. I was today with Mr. Dodsley, who declares very warmly in favor of the paper you sent him, which he desires to have a share in, it being, as he says, a creditable thing to be concerned in. I knew not what answer to make till I had consulted you, nor what to demand on the author's part, but am very willing that, if you please, he should have a part in it, as he will undoubtedly be more diligent to disperse and promote it. If you can send me word tomorrow what I shall say to him, I will settle matters, and bring the poem with me for the press, which, as the town empties, we cannot be too quick with. I am, sir, Yours, etc.,